Well, I'm fixing to make some drastic changes to my orchard, and I thought you might want to know about it. This is what used to be, it really still is, a persimmon tree. This is a Eureka persimmon tree. It's what's called an astringent persimmon. That means it doesn't ripen, it doesn't lose its astringency, and if you don't know what that taste is, the astringent taste is, it's not bitter, it's not tart, it's just mouth puckering. It's hard to explain if you've never tasted something that's astringent. But this is an astringent variety, which means it has to have a freeze on it for the fruit to ripen. The fruit, at least the Eureka does. The fruit only ripens after a freeze. So we had the little, it's supposed to have got down to 29. I'm not sure it did exactly right here. I know we got a frost because I got a lot of stuff killed, but I don't know that we got a freeze. But this year's drought was very cruel to this tree. And again, it's not necessarily the drought, because I watered every day just about. So it's not the drought per se, it's the heat that we had all summer long. I mean, it was just May, June, July, August, hot until the end of August. And I think that the freeze of 2021 also, the big Texas freeze, had something to do with it also. But anyway, as you can see, I've lost half of this tree. I mean, half of that tree is just deader than a hammer. For that reason, I just don't think it's ever going to come back out. Now, yes, we have half of it up here, and even this half over here looks like dog mess. I mean, it's terminated right there, just stops right there. Got a few little old sprouts coming out of it. It's just not only is it not an attractive tree, it's just, you know, I got a lot of fruit on it this year, but they're that big around. There's just nothing to them. Now again, that had to do with the really strange summer we had here. And you know, my hopes of being able to grow a good persimmon. Now let me say this quickly. If you get a hold of a really good persimmon, it is one of the best things you'll ever eat. I've eaten one persimmon one time that was just absolutely one of the sweetest things, best tasting things I've ever eaten. But I didn't grow it. I have yet to eat a persimmon, a really good persimmon that I have grown. And I'm just kind of tired of messing with them. So this tree, this persimmon tree, because half of it is dead, all this whole side here is gone. And I suspect that since that side went, that much of it's gonna go. But we don't know that yet, but I think I'm not gonna give it a chance to find out. So I think that's gonna get pulled up. And here's one that I really had high hopes for, and it turned out to be a beautiful tree. I'm gonna try to save it and maybe give it to somebody. That is a coffee cake persimmon, but I don't need it now, and I'll show you why in just a minute. It's a coffee cake persimmon. I got 2 persimmons on it this year. One here, one on the other side. 2 persimmons. Again, I'm sure it's probably because of the weather. I fertilized well, I watered well. It's just bound to have been the heat. It's just not sensible to have a tree in the ground that's really not going to produce. How do I know this is not going to produce? Well, I'll show you why. Let's walk over here. The coffee cake persimmon tree has to be pollinated by what's called a chocolate persimmon. And this is my chocolate persimmon. It just fell over, snapped, and by the way, that is a trait of a persimmon. They're just not, the scaffold limbs, the branches, even the trunk is just not, I don't know, not really sturdy, strong, whatever. And it could be that snapped, looks like to me snapped below the graft. I'm pretty sure that's the graft right there. The graft would have been an American, probably an American persimmon, which grow wild, I think, all over the country. So it's hardy stock, but for some reason, this one died. So the reason the coffee cake is no longer important to me, because I don't have a pollinator for it anymore. And this was my second pollinator, I think, that I bought. So I'm done, I think, with the coffee cake persimmon. I've still got a Fuyu over here, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with that, but I've got a Fuyu, and I've got a giant Fuyu, which neither one of them did anything this year hardly. This one's got a few little old fruit on it that's about as big as a silver dollar, and by the time you spit out a seed or two, you didn't get nothing to eat. Again, and also this one's got issues because only half of this tree is coming out of the graft. This is the graft right there, and that is coming out below the graft. So that's going to be probably an American persimmon tree, which is really not a desirable tree to have. That's going to be the only viable cultivated variety. That's going to be in other words, that's going to be the Fuyu. That's going to be an American persimmon because it's coming out below the graft. So this tree really doesn't make any sense to keep either. Doesn't need a pollinator, but it really doesn't make sense to keep it, I don't think. Haven't decided on this one yet, but it's not looking good. I don't know. So what I'm thinking about doing is, and I've got an apple tree up here that I planted this year, that apple tree right there, and it just up and died bigger than Dallas. Again, gotta be the heat, because I was watering them good. It was a healthy, nice, good looking tree until this year came along. So what I'm thinking about doing, and really thinking about doing, is I've got two fig trees, two mature big fig trees, 12 feet by at least 12, 15 feet tall. Same way here, 12 feet. Now they've lost some leaves because of the frost, but 12 feet wide at least, 15, 20 feet tall. Two established fig trees. This one is Brown Turkey, and this one here is Celeste. Good fig trees, good figs, the good varieties to have, do well in East Texas. They didn't do great this year, but nothing did. So what I'm thinking about doing, I've got a spot here for about 6 trees. If that one goes, and this one goes, and that one's already gone, I'm thinking about just making this just a fig orchard. Just have 6 fig trees here. Do something with the coffee cake persimmon. I don't have a pollinator anymore. I don't know what to do with it, but I could just give it to somebody, neighbor or somebody. He might want it. And then just have this area right here and nothing but figs. I can grow a fig, and I love figs probably as much as any other variety. I really wanted the persimmons. I don't like dealing with astringent persimmons. You got to wait for that freeze. You got to wait for just the right time, and just about the time they're starting to turn sweet, then they'll start rotting too. I mean, it's just seems to me to be a terribly small window of opportunity to eat those persimmons right there. So for that reason, I'm probably doing away with that one. That one's half dead anyway. That one is not half dead, looks pretty good, but it needs a pollinator, and I'm not gonna invest in another pollinator. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up front where I've got all those figs that I've shown you several times before that I propagated, and bring them down here and just put them where persimmons were, and just have strictly figs down here. I've got pears, I've got apples, so I can have figs, pears, apples, and oh my, figs, pears, and apples, oh my. But just want you to know what's upcoming is it's not going to be anytime soon. I'm going to wait till they're very dormant because I don't want to injure those younger fig trees. So I'm not going to grow any more persimmons. Again, you may look at that and say, boy, you're crazy. That tree put out like crazy. Yeah, they're that big around, and that particular persimmon has so many seeds in it, and the seeds are hard, and they just take up most of the inside, most of where the flesh is. And they're just not, if you don't have a big persimmon, it's just not tasty. It's not good. But for several years, I've been rethinking the whole persimmon thing because I'm not crazy about the ones I've got here. Like I say, I've eaten some that are just amazing, but the ones I've grown were just not. And so I'd just rather grow figs, I think. I talked your ear off, I guess. But Anyway, put some comments down there and let me know what you think about it. All right, we're gone.